Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of NCompass Live. I am your host, Krista Porter, here at the Nebraska Library Commission. NCompass Live is the Commission's weekly webinar series where we cover a variety of topics that may be of interest to libraries. We broadcast the show live every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. Central Time. But if you're unable to join us on Wednesdays, that's fine. We do record the show as we are doing today, and it will be available for you to watch later in our show archives. And I will show you at the end of today's show where you can access all of those show archives. Both the live show and the recordings are free and open to anyone to watch. So please do share with your friends, family, neighbors, colleagues, anyone you think might be interested in any of the shows that we have on NCompass Live. For those of you not from Nebraska, the Nebraska Library Commission is the state agency for libraries. So similar to potentially to your whatever state library. So we provide training and research and consulting and databases and grants and resources to all types of libraries in the state. So you may find shows on NCompass Live for all types of libraries, public, academic, K-12, corrections, museums, historical societies. Really, our only criteria is that something to do with libraries. We have guest speakers that come on NCompass Live from all across the country sometimes, but we also have Nebraska Library Commission staff that do presentations for us, and that is what we are doing today. Today, Sherm is with us. Andrew Sherman goes by Sherm. Good morning, Sherm.
Good morning.
And he is our IT support specialist, library technology support specialist here in library development here at the Library Commission. And he is our guru for all things techie for our libraries across the state. And he is going to talk to us today about the new upcoming ADA web content accessibility guidelines rules, what they are, what's happening with them, changes, whatnot, something that all libraries need to be aware of. So hopefully we'll all feel a little easier. I know people are very nervous about this, unsure about what it means, what are they supposed to do, and hopefully Sherm will get us through that today. So I will hand it over to you, Sherm, to tell us all about it.
All righty. I'm going to flip back to full screen on my presentation. As Chris said,
you were on full screen before, actually. Yep, you just switched
it. Let me hit that. There we go.
There you go. You're perfect right there. Yep.
All right. As Chris introduced me, I'm Andrew Sherman, aka Sherm, with the Nebraska Library Commission. Today we're going to be talking about compliance with the WCAG requirements that came out. We did get a nice reprieve.
Yes.
Originally, that they were supposed to be going live in April of this year if your population of your community or service area is over 50,000, and then next April if it's under 50,000. At the week before the date, the feds extended the deadline, so we got a year tacked on to each of those. So if your community is less than 50,000, it's now April 26th of 2028. And if your population is greater than 50,000, it's now April 26, 2027. So it's nice that we got that extension. And it really depends, on how much work you need to do. For most libraries that I work with, it's probably just the website. Most of them, their other services are all through some type of vendor that's providing it, whether it's Overdrive, or their ILS catalog vendor, where they're going with that service. So basically what we're talking about are web content accessibility guidelines. And the W3C Consortium, Worldwide Consortium, has a great doc that walks you through everything. And that's kind of the source for anything. We're going to take a high level overview of it today. We're not going to really get down into the nitty-gritty details, but we're just going to kind of cover the highlights, and then we'll open it up to questions and see what we can do. So basically, as I have there on my side, there's a number of different target things that we're trying to hit for WCAG compatibility. obvious, I think the ones are blindness and low vision, deafness and hearing loss. Some new wrinkles that people may not be aware of, limited movement, speech disabilities, photosensitivity. That's, I don't know if you remember when if you're watching the movies. Well, my day it used to be VHS, DVD, and now it's all stream. But the start of the movie, they put that warning up on the screen. Well, they've that's going to be part of the website stuff too. That gets into color and tone. If you have animations on your website, that can play into that. So that's something to think about. And then, of course, all the different combinations you could have with the web's resource that you're offering.
Those photosensitivity guide warnings, we still do get those. I get those on video games. Video games always have things like could be strobing effects or things like that, and so that's definitely something that's in people's minds, as a thing.
So kind of the acronym they've come up with for what your target is for accessibility, they call it POUR, P-O-U-R, perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. And we kind of have the little graphic down below, and that's it's kind of a nice little acronym. We're going to cover there's a few key things that are the most widely missed or for the lawsuits that have occurred in New York and California that had already state level adoption of some of these standards, and we'll cover those in just a sec. So the big thing in my experience in the libraries I support with, is if you're using online service vendors, again, if you have somebody that's doing your website for you, Overdrive, Libby, if you're subscribing to some of the video services, things like that, you really need to check with your vendor statement. They should have kind of a statement available on their website about what their level of WCAG support is, and maybe the tools and stuff they provide to do that. Kind of a critical thing is it in your contract with that service provider that their resource the library's paying for, is it in the contract that it will meet WCAG 2.1 level compliance? Because even though you're using a vendor to provide that service, the library still can have responsibility for it. So that's a critical thing to check. The other thing that people have tended to not notice or maybe not take seriously is the staff side of these apps and services also need to compliant. So not only does it need to be compliant for the members community using your services, and a good example of this is your ILS catalog system. As we all know, it has the public face, patron face, and then it has the staff interface. So if you have staff working for you that meet any of those kind of conditions we talked about earlier, that staff side of the application also needs to meet these requirements. I'm just checking a couple things when I was working on this presentation. Overdrive states that all of its stuff fully meets WCAG 2.1. WordPress, which I know is one of the most popular website or content management system, CMS as we refer to them. They offer some accessibility ready themes. I'll kind of caveat that there's, you can use a accessibility ready theme, but there's still items that you may be putting in your websites that you still have to address directly, even if you're using one of the themes that they tout as accessibility ready. There are a lot of free tools available that can be used to scan your website for compliance. This is something, I don't know where you're at right now on the AI bandwagon. The tools are pretty cool, especially from a technical standpoint. They have some really neat capabilities. I guess where I kind of fall foul of AI is I was a business librarian, and right now the numbers of doesn't make any sense to me how they can be demanding these kind of valuations and stuff when their profitability, I just don't get that. But aside from my business reservations over where I is at and where it's going. The tools do have their uses, and actually they tend to be most effective on technology kind of focused things. So guess what? There are some really good tools out there. They're starting to. I think when we were looking at those original dates, um, there maybe wasn't a big rush to get AI embedded in some of those tools because they weren't going to make the dates that were required for compliance. But I
Mm.
think with that extension now, where we've bought another year or two, I think you're going to see some of the tool providers really introduce some AI capabilities into their scanning tools that'll be very, very useful for checking your website and that. Um, One thing I have noticed going through the tools that are available is they tend to be a niche or specialize in different things. So one is looks at all the color scaling and stuff on your website and tells you whether it's compliant or not and makes suggestions for improving the colors that you're using your website. Another one may be really good about checking where you have prompts, or one may be good for checking navigation. So if you're going to use some of those tools to scan through your website and get it suggestions for what's not compliant, what needs to be improved, you may need to consider using multiple tools to do that. The one that does coloring, scaling, the one that does navigation, the one that goes through your documents, so on and so forth. The good thing is the vendors have known about these requirements were coming. So some of the largely used stuff that we see in the libraries, Adobe Acrobat, PDFs, LibreOffice, the free Office equivalent that a lot of the libraries I work with now use on their patron and public computers, Microsoft Word, they all have WCAG tools built into them that you can turn on and have it look at your documents and tell you, um, where some work needs to be done or how it can be improved. The big thing, this is like the market leader for what needs to be done on existing websites, is the descriptive alternative, or the alt text
Mm.
coding that goes in for pictures on your websites. When you look at the lawsuits that have been filed in California and New York so far, that is the number one fault that people are using to engage in lawsuits, is they have a picture on the website and they didn't include just this little alt text that
Mhm.
says this is a picture of. I mean, literally, that is it. And I know, back when I was managing the websites and stuff, just you throw the picture into your blog post, you
Mhm.
have the picture just up on your web page, and not taking the time to just add that little alt text field into the picture setting. It's like WordPress, when you put a picture up and you go into the properties of it, that field is there, and you
Mhm.
can fill it out, and once it's done, you're compliant. If the patron is using, a vision assistive reading app of some kind, it'll see those alt tags, describe what the picture is and things to them. That's the big one, that as you go back through your stuff, is
Mhm.
probably what's going to need the most attention. The other thing that we see are tables and or color coded content. So if you have maybe different types of library membership, and the document you have on your web page for that, and it has a table where it's like adults, children, maybe you have something for seniors, maybe you have something for service members, and it's presented in a table format. While visually it, it makes it very easy to understand. If you have a patron using one of their reader adaptive reading apps, they tend to have a lot of trouble with tables. They can't describe it or recite, you know do text to speech with a table that makes sense. So the fix to that is to get away from having things in a table, and just writing it out in the paragraph. Is children to get a library card have to meet these conditions, adults, so on and so forth. So tables are a big one.
Mhm.
The other one is color coded content. That doesn't seem like an issue. The one that I always jumped right to my mind at our libraries, that if you have like your early readers, reading level books in your children's section, we have the little colored maybe stickers on them, and we have a chart maybe taped to the shelf that says, red, blue, green. That's a problem. That's problematic. So instead of using colors, it should probably have a sticker. And if you have this on your website too, it should say, 1 ST for first level readers, second level readers, or if it's based on grade level, instead of using colors, we want to now use text. So it's descriptive. And if that isn't then in a document that we're offering on our website, or something that's within our ILS catalog supports, that we're using something that's not a color, that it's just saying, this is a first level book, this is a second level book, this is a first through second grade book, things like that. So those are kind of the biggies out there that just looking through your own stuff, you should be able to easily spot and address.
Yeah, sure. We do have a couple of questions. One is just about the slides, which is an easy question. The presentation, someone asked if the presentation will be available later, because you've got that link there to free tools. I assume that's a link.
Yeah,
yes.
So anything in the blue there, the hyperlinks, yes.
Yes. So afterwards, yes, and I could have mentioned at the beginning, but I didn't. Yes, when we post up the recording of the show, there will also be a link to Sherm slides, and you'll be able to click on all of these to get what he linked out to. And also, just so for your own reference, don't worry about trying to scribble down everything on these slides. There's a lot of content, and that's good. But you will have the slides later to refer to, yes. And then someone wants to know if social media postings have to meet the same requirements. I'm not sure if you're going to mention that.
Yes, you do want to do that, and we'll cover that in just a little bit.
Cool, perfect. Yes, all right. That's all.
So what I can say right now to the social media, that picture tabbing, that that descriptive alternative for your social media, that's a big one too, and it also works with videos. So if you have a video, maybe you put up of a little craft project or something, videos have that same alt text tag where you're just saying, this is a video of somebody making, their snowman or something like that, their snowman project at the library, something like that. So that also plays into video too, which is now the popular thing, for a lot of the social media, is people putting up the TikToks and things like that. So social media also needs to compliant when possible. Again, the person may have access to an accessibility assistance app, but again, if you're putting postings up on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whether it's a video or picture, when you put that stuff up, those services all have that option to do that alternative tag, where you can set a description of what the video is, or what the picture is, or you can tag with the video. If maybe you're walking them through the snowman, you can include the text that will come up that's like step 1, step 2, step 3, and that's important. So it's really getting in and getting those again. That again tends to be the largest issue, are those pictures and videos not having that alt text feel completed and set. The big thing to understand is some people thought, well, we could offer the alternative method, which is like, well, we have this, this on our website. For example, if your library has some kind of way that, I just recently moved to town, I want to get like a newcomer library card that gives me some limited access or something, maybe to Libby or something, and then you have so much time to get into the library and actually get your actual card. That's wonderful. That's great. But if I'm a person that has visual issues using your website, you have to be able to offer that same service to me. And if you don't, you can't say your alternative method is, well, you will have to come into the library to get that same level of service or access. That's not compliant. Basically, if it's not equal, it's not compliant. That would be just like we have to, some of the old Carnegie libraries where they had to install the elevators or the lifts or something so people can get in and out of the library, or it's had to be remodeled for restroom access and things like that. Your website is kind of the same thing. You can't say, okay, well, this is an online offering we're making, and if you're not able to do this due to some kind of disability, an alternative of coming to the library is not a fair and equal alternative. So keep that in mind. The big one everybody is really concerned about is, what if I have archives? Public libraries, that can be an issue. It's definitely an issue with academic libraries, where they have huge archives of digitized material and stuff. There are some exceptions in the WCAG guidelines for that. They're vague. The recommendation is, if you can put the work into getting your archives to meet standards, you can. They do allow some exceptions where, maybe this was digitized and then those old print materials that were digitized are no longer available. They're not out there anymore, and this is all we have. Or the cost would be of um, so much money that the institution simply would go bankrupt trying to offer that capability. They do have some exceptions for that. But what we can't do is like say, okay, I have all my library board minutes available in an archive on my website. That's probably not going to meet the test and not pass. Or, I have some old digitized materials on my website. Don't count on it. Do your best to make sure you're meeting that compliance. Again, if you haven't put in the work yet, the current standard is 2.1. The 2.2 standard is out there and available. If you're looking at having to go out and do the workout to get to 2.1, it seems like you would probably want to just target 2.2 AAA compliance, and then you're kind of future proofed. You have that going forward. And the other thing that's critical is if you have multiple staff, that are posting to the website or doing social media, the best thing you could do is create a little guideline that your staff has readily accessible, that if you are putting a picture up, you have to include the alt text tag. If you're putting a video up, you have to include the alt text tag. If the video is, demonstrating how to do something, you need to have a alternate text that's walking somebody through it that they can hear verbally, with their accessibility app, things like that. So when my last Brian was Connecticut, we had actually done that where we put together a newsletter and our website for patron access. The staff had actually developed a set of rules about you have to do this if you're putting pictures up. You have to do this. You can't use color coding. You can't use tables. Everything has to be kind of written out or spoken out. There's some things you can do, some tools. If you do have a table or something, you can still alt text it and maybe have it be a descriptive text, of how the layout that's more understandable. But think about having a kind of a compliance stock or a checklist that when I'm posting to social media or I'm putting things on the website, here's the boxes that have to be checked to make sure I'm meeting the WCAG compliance level that the library is shooting for. We talked about tools. We mentioned it. I think the AI stuff is going to be a huge benefit for being able to have it scan through your stuff and see where you're compliant, see where you're not. I wouldn't be surprised if the AI tools will be able to offer basically, hey, I found this. Do you want me to fix it? And it'll fix it. So that'll definitely be something to watch as you're working on getting through your compliance on your web resources.
I do notice when I'm doing photos on things like on Facebook and whatnot that there is sometimes pre-generated alt text. And like this may be a photo, an image of blah, blah, blah. And it's halfway correct usually. I always have to fix things, but.
So that's where the AI stuff is really coming into play too, where, it's starting to be able to recognize photos. And, you may put up a picture, maybe you're doing a post on your library website about, hey, these are my pets at home. And you put a picture of a cat. It may have some AI tools where it's just like, this is a picture of a cat. And okay, that's great. But if it's something where you're, asking your patrons to share pictures of their pets or something, you may want to have your text say, this is a picture of my cat or something like that. That's, a little more descriptive of what's going on.
Yeah, and things like my cat, who is my calico cat sitting on a couch, something.
Right,
Yeah,
right. Or this is my cat, playing with its mousey or something like that.
yeah.
And especially if maybe it's a video these days, it's probably a TikTok video of your cat playing with their
Mhm,
toy. So again, having that descriptive of the video.
mhm. So we do have some questions that have popped up that I'm going to see what we have here. If they're okay. Okay, so here's, all right, I'm going to jump to this one. Hmm. So the question is, can you still use color coding if you also include text in the area where that color is for compliance, or does everything just have to be
No,
black and white?
you can, but then
Yeah.
you have to make sure that it's working properly. So if I'm on my accessibility reader at home and it hits that table, do you have coded that it says, oh, this table has, and then it recites the information, or are you going to listen to their accessibility to stumble and fall over trying to turn that table into speech, and then maybe it picks up? You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So then maybe they get you'll frustrate somebody with that, but then maybe you have the paragraph below that actually describes it via that will pick up on speech. So again, if you want to keep that table in place, make sure you have it coded that it's cleanly being handled properly, by an accessibility app. And maybe you're going to have an accessibility app on your computer to check things like that to make sure that it's a nice clean handoff. It's not
Mm-hmm.
stumbling over something before or after
Yeah,
for
so I
that
think we're not
person's use.
saying everything has to be just black and white, because black and white and color and no color at all. It's just be aware there's going to be people with different abilities of viewing your accessing your information, your online information, and run a test. Yeah, and see what an actual accessibility tool or accessibility checker does.
Yep.
For years. Yeah. Someone else says that apparently, and I have not tested this myself, Facebook and Instagram do not currently support alt text for videos. There isn't an
That
alt in there, but what do you recommend for compliance in this case?
uh,
Put it in the
I wasn't
description.
aware that they didn't have it. I would think they're going to have it, with the new dates.
Mm-hmm.
I would be shocked if they don't, because
But
I
if they
mean,
don't, I mean, I would say you could put the description of the video in just the actual
yeah, and so
content
maybe you
of
have
the
to do it
post
in your
itself.
post. Yeah,
Yeah,
your
yeah.
post is, here's my post, and then you maybe before your picture, before your video, here's a picture of blah 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 doing blah
Included
blah
is a
blah.
picture of this, included is a
Yeah,
video of whatever. Yeah,
yep.
yeah. Um, the idea is, yeah, make sure that people, yeah.
Like I
Um,
said, the dates got moved back, so if
right. We
they're
have
not,
time.
they don't have to be compliant now, but they're going to need to get compliant. So
So you might as well start working on it and getting in the habit is what, yeah.
yeah,
I know I
yeah,
am, and I try, I know it, and I try. I'm not as, I'm not 100% on doing my alt text on pictures. Sometimes I'm so quick and I don't even think. I'm like, oh, let me post this. And then I
well,
have to go back and fix it, which is okay. You can go back and always add things and
if you're
edit.
an old timer like me, the habit is you just insert your pick.
Yeah, yeah.
You just never thought about taking the extra, and that's kind of sad that it took. I mean, how
Mhm.
much time does it take just to add that little alt
Yes.
text tab to add your description?
Just got to get in the habit. You start getting in the habit now, and then you'll be fine. Yeah. Another question about videos. Do videos require captions for social media posts?
Again, the guidelines aren't active yet, but this is just like it's a good habit to get into. So, if you're putting videos on your website, or you're using a social media tool that allows you to post videos, if it has the ability to add that alternative text,
Hmm.
or a similar tool that allows you to narrate, maybe offer a narration or something like that, start using it. I mean,
Hmm.
that's the best thing you can do.
But will it require that all videos have captions on them? Is that in
I
there?
doubt the vendor. So if you're asking if like Facebook or TikTok or something is going to make you do it, like it won't let you finish the post until you provide that alternative, that actually would be, I think, very beneficial if they did, but I don't think they'll probably, my guess would be they're not going to
Mhm.
make you do it.
But is
They,
that in these rules, these new the
yeah,
compliance that
so if
we're
you
talking
go out
about?
to the WCAG
Yeah.
guidelines at the W3C website, it's all pretty well spelled out of what you need to be doing. And
Hmm.
we'll pop up a little thing here at the end that'll kind of show you this too.
Hmm. And then there's a longer one. Let me read this here. To say, okay, a question about board meeting agendas and minutes for their library board. Our website has them listed clear back to July 2018.
So
Two questions. Do we need to go through all of those and fix them, or are there guidelines for, you mentioned far back, how we have to go? I've
there's
started creating new agendas into ADA compliance for the last couple of meetings.
Yeah, so that's really going to be on you. Um, you can go out and look at the guidelines for how they define an archive of old. Like I
Mm,
said, they're pretty vague.
mm,
So there didn't seem to be any hard date where if it's newer than this or older than that,
mm,
they don't really address it. So
mm.
yeah, I mean, what are the chances of somebody's going through your library board minutes,
From 2018,
or
yeah.
your agendas from that are over,
Mm,
a year even or something? So, it's really up to you. But if your minutes are like most minutes, they're just text, where somebody's accessibility app is just going to be rattling off the text, it really shouldn't. I don't see that there should be a whole lot of work there. I know when I was writing board minutes and doing agendas, we weren't embedding pictures and videos and things like
right.
that. It was pretty much
Text
just
anyway.
straight up text. So, an accessibility app should handle that just fine. Again, the only thing I could see, if
Right.
for some reason you threw a table in or you color coded something, but again, that would be, I think, a rarity that we
Yeah.
would see in board minutes or text. Now, if you did a report, maybe you're doing your end of year report and you've
Right.
presented that data in like graphics or tables, that could be an issue. That's something that may need to be addressed. And
Mhm.
then it's your decision. How far back do I want to go? So if I've been using, pie charts in my end of year board report that says, we had this much circulation, blah blah blah. Here's how our community breaks out between number of child card holders, adult card holders, non-resident card holders, things like that, and you've presented it with graphics, that could be problematic.
Mhm.
But again, is somebody going to go look at your 5-year-old, 10-year-old, end of year board report
Mhm.
and then try and get you on the hook for it? Who knows? I don't know that.
And the answer is, if someone does decide to dig back and do that, and they, call you out on it, you say, okay, give us a week, a month, whatever, and we will fix this. We
Right.
have
And
the
then
ability to do it. It's just we didn't think like you mentioned, we have a limited staff, limited time, limited budget to go back and fix our items from 10 years ago. But if you would like to look at this one, give us some time and we'll get it ready for you.
and that's one of the recommendations for minimizing your risk for lawsuits is having a policy saying, the library strives for our, web presence or web
Mm,
tools to meet these guidelines, and having a policy, if you find something that doesn't meet our guidelines, we will,
let us know.
please contact us and let us know, and we will work to correct the issue. And I don't think you really have to say, within 30 days or something like that.
No, don't do that.
Just that you have a policy, you've acknowledged the standards, and you're making your best effort to meet them.
Mhm. Yep. And they said, yes, that's great. It's all just text, thankfully. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So today's accessibility apps that the people have for their computers are very capable. Again, I think this is something where the AI is going to come in and even make them more capable. Um, so, yeah, we'll have to see how it goes. But I guess, whether you're, like I said, we talked about whether you're anti-AI or pro-AI. I'm kind of in two different camps. But when we're talking technology, like having an AI engine running your adaptive app to help you navigate the web, that seems like an amazing use for that technology, because I think it can do such a good job of it.
All right, great. Thanks.
So here's the criteria we talked about. I have kind of a very brief blurb. The actual document does go into some greater detail. So our criteria for images, and I can't say it enough, the text alternative, the alt text, just having that there is the lion's share of what's getting detected for noncompliance. Decorative images, like if you have the library's logo on your website or something, it's not necessary or not essential to understanding the content, the purpose of the page. So let's say every page of your website has the little library logo up in the corner. It's not a big deal. You don't have to have it set where every time that the person's adaptive mouse pointer crosses across it, suddenly blast out them, this is the logo of the blah, 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 blah library. Not necessary. It just needs to be, if you've got that picture or that video of an activity or event or something going on, that just gives a little blurb of what it is or what the people are doing. Complex images, this is, I guess, really the video gets more complex. So if you're presenting a how-to video, it should have the text alternative that's basically can walk somebody through the how-to via text-to-speech instead of just watching the video. Images for control. So if the image is a button, if you press this button, it's the link to our catalog. Have that alternative text in place that says, click this button to get to the library's catalog. Clicking this button takes you to the library's ancestry database, things like that. So image control just needs to be able to, assist that adaptive tool in telling the person what that button or what that link is going to do. So that pretty well covers that. Like I said, the actual guideline document you can go into can get a lot deeper into that. Whoop, did I go the wrong way? Video, it's pretty similar to what we just talked about, the pictures. The other thing is just that maybe that audio piece, maybe it needs to have a running, or if it's a video of somebody speaking, make sure that maybe that the sound, if it's audio with sound and the person's telling, okay, here's what I'm doing, here's step one, here's step two, you may be covered then, as long as the audio that goes to that video is good and descriptive of what's going on. So that's criteria for video, kind of a high level of that. And then your criteria for audio. So this is if, the person that has hearing issues, making that text where they can, their tool, or they can click on something and it brings up the captions or something of that. Hopefully they have a tool that can take that pre-recorded audio and it's converting it to text form, closed caption of that. But you want to make sure you provide that text alternative where they can bring up something that if they can't see the video, or if they can't hear the video, they get a caption or text that does the job. So that pretty much covers it. Like I said, the document itself, the standards guideline out at the W3C site goes into a lot more detail on everything. This is just kind of high level overview. Again, that link to the free tools, there's a ton of free tools out there for doing this. And with the AI stuff, I think coming online, they're just going to get better and better. Does anybody have any other questions for me or want me to go back to something to discuss a little further?
Yeah, we have still about 15, 20 minutes left in our session this morning time. So yes, if you have any questions, go ahead and type them in the questions section in your GoToWebinar interface. There is also Sherm's contact info if you want to reach out to him later with any questions. We do have one that did just pop up here about the accessibility overlay plugins. Someone says, we were made, can you address those? We were made aware of the compliance requirement through a company trying to sell us an overlay system. After doing basic research, these overlays seem like a bad idea to me, but they seem to be very prevalent on sites.
It really, it's just like if you're going to buy any software, it's, doing your diligence. Do they have a trial version you can plug in and see if the cost or the effort of using their tool is worth it? For software land, I've always been a big, try before you buy. They have a 30-day trial version or something. How much work is it to maybe to try it out and see if it really saves me any effort or time, or if the time or effort it does save me, is it worth what they want to charge me for it? So that, I think when you're this software, any software, you're going to want to probably take that route.
Someone has a question about font size. But how do fonts?
I didn't get into that. Yeah, so hues, colors, font size, font types. The W3C Consortium WCAG document goes in depth on all that. So I didn't really think it was anything we needed to cover in our presentation, but it's all in the document. Yep.
Okay, so that because the question is specifically about font size requirements for social media postings that are images. So when you're putting text on an image,
and some of these tools, again, Facebook, TikTok, or something, they may be very limited of what they offer as far as a font selection or something. Hopefully they're already offering the best fonts for readability and things like that.
Well, I think I think this person is referring to, like, I've made a picture that has font on it, has printed text on it, and I'm posting it. Like that original picture I made that has some text on it, like the promotion we do for NCompass.
Yeah. So the example that really jumps to mind is when my library, that I was a director of, we did, our Dr. Seuss birthday party, and guess what font we used for our flyers?
The Dr. Seuss font.
The Dr. Seuss font. Gosh, it's cute, and everybody recognizes it if they have the ability to recognize it.
Yeah.
So now you're looking at, like, well, we can't use that, or we need to do an alternate version that's been done in a font that somebody can easily read. And and maybe it needs to be black and white, or maybe it needs to be just blue, not a whole mix of colors and stuff. So it's just something to consider. Obviously it's cute, but it's not a font that somebody that has visual issues would easily be able to read.
But then also make sure you've got that alt text in there that will then describe the picture as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if you have a picture that has and Chris, you just kind of nailed it, if it has graphics on it, if you have the way to set that alt text field or some type of field that a reading tool can recognize, that should help quite a bit.
Yeah, and they said, I think that's where the alt text could come in. Yeah, of course, that's what your alt text is for, to describe what you've done in that picture. Yeah. Let's see, we got a lot of questions here. We did that one. Okay. So, okay, other than just websites, what else needs to be compliant? Email,
so anything, any web service that is being offered by the library. So if I can go to the library's website, and so where I have got questions off are like, well, what if the library has a link to the city's website? Are we responsible? You are not responsible for the city's website to be WCAG compliant. So if you have a link that's then handing them off to the city's website, or maybe you've have a community event that you've included in a post that has a link, and they head off to that community website or something, you're just handing them off. The library is not responsible for the content of another organization's or business's website. You're only responsible for your own.
Right.
So if it's your ILS, your catalog, your website, if you're subscribed, with library ancestry and things like that. So if it's a service the library is offering, at the end of the day, the library is responsible for it, meaning compliance guidelines.
And that's what you said at the very beginning was make sure and check in with all of these services.
Go to all your vendor websites, check their statement on WCAG compliance.
And they all should be aware of this as well and are already working on it or possibly already in compliance.
Yeah,
And
I think you're going to find most of your big vendors have been compliant for a while and are going to say we are fully compliant. And, if you would have a patron report to you that, hey, I got to this portion of Nebraska access or something and it doesn't seem like it is, give the library the heads up, and then they can contact their vendor and get it straightened out. And that comes back to having that policy. When we are made aware of a non-compliant or an issue of compliance, we will address it in a prompt and courteous fashion.
Yeah. Someone wants to know, what about actual software? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Can you clarify the question? Which kind of software?
So if it's the tools I provided, that hyperlink, there's a ton of different free tools out there.
As opposed to websites. Oh, about software being compliant. Well, this is specifically about web.
Yeah, most of the tools out there are for scanning your website.
Okay, I see. So for printer release stations, makerspace software.
Again, if you're leasing or paying for that from a vendor, your vendor is the first person to go to. And if that vendor would say, yeah, we're not compliant, and they can't tell you if they're going to be compliant, then yeah, that might be an issue.
Because this compliance that we're talking about here is about web content. So that's your first thing to think about. Is this something we're offering on the web? Yeah. That has to do with this compliance. But just in general, you should be making any software that, I don't know that there's requirement rules about, like you offer software in-house just on your computers, like for sending something to the printer or whatnot. You should be. I don't know if there is specific.
So some libraries do provide. I know the Library Commission a while back, Christy, you guys had the grant where you did the ADA computers that had the visual tools. And some libraries have book readers, newspaper readers, where you can put the book or the paper under the device to magnify or view. That would be up to the library if they want to provide a computer with that. When that grant kind of came out, though, that's when computers were still fairly expensive, and the software itself that did that was also fairly expensive. But these days, with the price of a device and that software having come down considerably, most folks that need that kind of assistance are already going to have a personal device. It's already all tuned and set up specifically to address what issues they're facing. And I don't know that there's a lot of need for the library to try and provide that device, especially when people's vision can have such variation, or people's hearing can have such variation. Those devices are usually tuned specifically for that person.
But they are available, yeah. And here's a clarifying question, which I think this is what the actual question was, and I get it now. Is there a standard similar to WCAG for software? And honestly, you're actually the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA. That is something and that's a whole different topic. So that specifically this WCAG is about web content, that one small thing, that one particular thing. But there's a Disabilities Act that
if you have patrons or community members that are asking you for recommendations of an accessibility app they should be running on their home computer or their personal device, I didn't go out and look at any of that because it's kind of really outside of what we're talking about today.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I mentioned this. You mentioned AI for social media posts where the alt text says this may be a picture of. Is this acceptable as long as it reads it properly? Yes. You don't have to write up your own, but look at what it's saying. This may be a picture of it, and make sure it is correct. But if it's already pre-written something that is accurate, Yeah.
Yeah.
Done it
So,
for you.
but
Yeah.
definitely, if it's anything AI is done for you, check it.
Double check it. Yes, absolutely.
The tools are getting better and better, but
Mhm.
yeah, double
Yeah.
check it.
You might need to just tweak a few words or clarification. Yeah. Um, Okay. So I think someone's talking. We were talking about before about whether it covers. The rule states it's for websites and mobile apps. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Um,
basically,
so this is
if
for
it's
anything web
a
content.
website or a web service the library is offering, it
Hmm.
needs to meet the guidelines.
Yeah. Um, okay. Here's a comment. I heartily endorse accessibility. Great, but I still don't like that it sounds like as if everything will have to be just black and white, as far as color.
It's not saying
Very,
that.
no.
When if you go to the WCAG guidelines, they have very specific guidelines on colors, the actual hue, how intense the color is.
Yeah.
Um, they have specific colors that are they tell you what colors are the easiest to view, the easiest to see.
Yeah.
Maybe the concern is now our websites are going to kind of look very similar
Mm,
because we're all going to use the same hues or shades of colors in the same font. You know, the
right.
fonts that score the highest for readability, and that
Mm,
very well could be the case. Yeah.
yeah. That's okay. um, on their website. Okay, so I get okay. The question I'm trying to like understand the question. So the question is that just popped up. What about if your website lists actual Facebook or Twitter posts on the website? How do you make these ADA compliant as well? Um, are you
So
talking about like
the
screenshots of posts or like when you've got that embedding in the feed of what's on your Facebook? Hmm.
the rule there is if the social media post is done by um, the library should be taking advantage of whatever features that social media platform offers to make that post, that picture, that video meet compliance.
Mm-hmm.
If you're linking to maybe you did a blog post and you're linking to some popular influencers um, feed or something like that, that would be on that influencer, I believe, the way the guidelines state, to meet that compliance.
Right. So yeah, that's what you're talking about. If you have an app that lists media posts, yeah, you would have met the ADA or WCAG rules on the actual post itself in that
Yeah.
social media. So just feeding that into your website, if you've already done it on the social media site, then you've got it
Yeah.
taken.
So if, the school's doing the Scholastic book sale and you've got a link that's going to take you to Scholastic's page, and here's the books they're pushing as part of this your school sale. Once they've gone off to the Scholastic site, it's up to Scholastic to meet the
Right.
requirements.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. All right. Yeah. Someone just explained it's embedded Facebook feed. You have to hit the tab key apparently a bunch of times, but then those who know how to jump through page headings because they get out it that way. Yeah.
Now,
Um,
I would say, if you've got some kind of scrolling feed on your website, this
mm,
again may be where you want to download one of the accessibility tools and just see what happens
when someone
when
does
they
go
put
to
their mouse and stuff over it. And if it turns out to be this garbly, horrible mess, you may not want to have that on your website because it's just
Mhm.
not navigable.
Yeah, gonna be a lot of changes to the web pages coming possibly. I know I have things I have to look into. Um, what about live videos? A Facebook live posting, like a Facebook live video.
So, if you're recording the video live or you're doing a live feed and you're putting it up, if we're using, like you mentioned, Krista, with uh,
The
the tool
captions
you're using,
go through, go
you
to
can turn the
website.
captions on and things like that. If you're recording the video and then it's going to go on the library website later, you want to make sure that you've got, the a lot of the webinar tools offer the ability now, especially with AI, that they will create the minutes, or they basically will take everything that's said and will put it into a text document.
Transcript or something. Yeah.
They'll automatically transcript the whole session, and then maybe you just need to go clean it up a little and include that transcription, as a link with the video when you put it up on the library's website.
Yeah. Perfect. Let's see here. Adding alt descriptions. Oh, okay. Oh, someone wants some help. Okay. When they get into coding, like for adding alt descriptions for buttons or other interactive elements on their website, can we reach out to you for help? Or is there another resource we can?
Yeah, I'm not really going to sign myself up to support your website coding. If you're using WordPress, those tools are all present for when you're working on your post, and you should be able to handle that. That's something you can easily Google. How do I make my WordPress post WCAG 2.1 compliant? Things like that. But yeah, I'm not looking to help anybody with their website.
You're not a website designer, no.
I'm just like you. At my libraries, we set up WordPress, and we all had the ability to go out and blog for our different departments and things like that. And I've administrated the WordPress websites for the libraries I've supported. But yeah,
that's about it. Yeah. All right. We just hit 11 a.m. Central Time. And I've grabbed all the questions we had so far. Does anybody have any last minute desperate questions you want to ask of Sherm? We will stick around, and if you do have anything else you want to ask him right now, anything else as you mentioned, you want him to go back and go over and clarify anything that already was mentioned, type in your question section. The recording of this show will be available, should be available by the end of the day tomorrow for you all if you want to rewatch it again. And yes, all of these slides with all of these hot links here, all the links that were in it will be available.
As I said, this was a very high level view of the the documentation, the WCAG document itself. So go through the WCAG document. Everything you need to know is in it, and you can find tons of resources. If there's a section you're not quite clear on or something, just do a search for it, and you'll find all kinds of different people who've posted up clarifications of this and that. Obviously, it's been a very popular document for picking apart and asking questions and getting clarifications on.
Yeah, we just wanted to make sure that all of our libraries were very aware of this and knew that this is something you need to be doing. There was that original deadline in April, or I think everyone had some major panic attacks, and nothing like waiting to the last minute to give people an extension, but they did. So you do have another year or two, depending on your population that you serve. So
yeah, and it'll be interesting to see. I don't know that it would get extended again. The rule was passed in 2024, and it seemed like we had enough time to get it done, and it obviously didn't happen. I'm sure there were people lobbying the Fed, saying we're not going to meet the date. We don't want to get sued. Please extend the date. So I'm sure a lot of companies were lobbying the government to push that date back so they had more time to get in compliance.
Right.
And again, you think about some of the academic libraries and the archives they offer. Some of them, their price tag, make some old archive fully. I mean, it could be
impossible. Yeah,
it could be insane what they're looking at for a cost to actually do that.
Yeah. All right, so just got some thank yous coming in. Thank you, presenters. Great info. All right. Oh, well, you're welcome. All right, I think I will get things wrapped up here. I am going to pull presenter control to my screen if I can make this work properly. Hey, look, I did it. Awesome. And thank you so much, Very useful. Yes, yes. Thank you so much, Sherman. And as you saw on that last slide of Sherman's, he's been on NCompass Live a bunch of times talking about all sorts of various tech, computer related things. So do check our archives for anything else that he has done, if there's any of those other topics that you need to or want to learn more about. So thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you so much, Sherman. All right. So as I said, today's show is recorded and will be posted on our NCompass Live archive page. If you use whatever is your search engine of choice and type in the name of our show, NCompass Live, you'll get our main page and our archive page. But this is our main NCompass Live page with our upcoming shows. Link to our archives is right here underneath. Most recent session at the top. And just like last week's, we had a link to the recording on our YouTube, the Nebraska Library Commission's YouTube channel, and link to our presentation slides, in this case, into our slide share. So the same thing will be available for today's session. Everyone who attended today's show and registered for today's show will get an email from me letting you know when the recording is ready. Like I said, by the end of the day tomorrow, I plan to have that done. We also push out onto our various social media. We have a mailing online listserv here at the Library Commission. We have a Facebook page specifically for NCompass Live. So if you do like to use Facebook, give us a like over there. Here we have a reminder about logging in today's show, meeting our presenters, and then when recordings are ready, we post here as well using the hashtag NCompLive, a little abbreviation of our show name. We also push out reminders to the Library Commission's Instagram. I've been using LinkedIn, etc. Anywhere while we're out there, where we are out online. While we're here on the archive page, I'll show you can do a search to see if we've done a show on any topic of interest to you. You can search the full show archives or the most recent 12 months if you want something just current. And we do have that limit because this is our full show archive. Speaking of archival things, going back to when NCompass Live first premiered, which I'm not going to scroll all the way down here, but it was in January 2009. So this year, 2026, is the 18th year of NCompass Live. Wow, we're an adult. But we have original broadcast dates on all of our shows. So do be aware of how old something is if you are watching it. Many of the shows will find to watch, stand the test of time, still have good, useful information, but some things will become old and outdated. Resources may have changed drastically. Links may be broken, resources might not exist anymore. So, but do just pay attention to that. As Sherm mentioned about academic libraries, this is something libraries do. We keep things for historical purposes. And as long as we have somewhere to host them, which right now is our this page here and on our Library Commission YouTube channel, we will keep all of these archive shows available for you to watch. If you are looking for continuing education credit, if you are from Nebraska, you can submit our forms here for watching our archive shows. For the live show, I submit that automatically for you. If you are not from Nebraska, you'll need to reach out to whoever is your CE granting entity to ask, how do I get CE for this? Anyone who has attended the live shows will get an email in about an hour from GoToWebinar that is your proof that you attended the live show and has a certificate attached that you can use if you need. But for recordings, you'll have to figure, we don't know who watches the recordings. You'll have to figure that out. All right, so thank you, everybody. These are our upcoming shows, and next week, I hope you'll join us. We'll be talking about community literacy treasure hunt, a fun way to increase literacy. Lisa Cape from the Marie Ellison Memorial Library in Del Rio, Tennessee, is going to be joining us next week to talk about a program that they have been doing, a fun program to increase literacy in their community. So please do join us for that one. And keep an eye on our schedule here. I'll be filling in all the dates as we get things confirmed. So thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you so much, Sherm, for all of your expertise. And hopefully we'll see you all on a future episode of NCompass Live. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.